What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Doc and Dog presented by the Fantasy Mafia. My name is Jordan Jaika, aka Dr. Fantasy, and I'm here with my co-host Rydawg, and we are starting our first part of a two-part mini-series. Today we're going to talk about our third base rankings. So today we're going to go through numbers 11 through 20, and the second installment will be our top 10 third basemen. So we'll dive right into it. Number 20 on our consensus rankings is Justin Turner of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Last season, he batted .290, scored 80 runs, 27 home runs, 67 RBIs, 2 stolen bases. Currently going pick 153. And you and I talked a little bit about this before. I'm just not overly high on him just because he's 35 now. He's had a ton of injury problems. He hasn't played over 130 games all but one season. So he's only played above 130 games one season. So, as he's gotten older, more injuries. If you're in a league where on-base percentage counts, I'd put a little more premium on him. He always has a really nice on-base percentage. But I definitely won't deny that when he is on the field, he's productive. But for me, at 35 years old, I like upside. I like value and upside. And for me, Justin Turner just personally doesn't offer that for me. So I actually didn't have him ranked in my top 20. I had him ranked 24th.
Yeah, and I had Justin Turner ranked. I like Turner. He is what he is. He plays less than 130 games a year. But he offers everything that I like. He offers a good mix of average, home runs, RBIs, runs scored. If he actually stayed healthy, we'd be talking about a 3,500, 280, 290 guy, but we're not. But he does provide everything you need except stolen bases when he is healthy. So that's why I have him ranked. And plus in that Dodgers offense, which is, as always, very, very deep.
Maybe I'm just salty because he didn't perform until after he left the Mets.
That might be it.
Number 19 is my boy Danny Santana. We've talked about him in almost every single episode. So I'm not going to talk about him too much. If you haven't heard us talk about him yet, I'll mention a few things briefly. But he batted .283 last year, 81 runs scored, 28 home runs, 81 RBIs, and 21 steals, currently going pick 149 overall. I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but I like my 2020 guys. Not many guys do it anymore. Only right around 10 did it last season. So I think those guys are really at a premium. And, you're getting them in the middle rounds, which is great value. Lineup around him isn't fantastic, but he's projected to hit leadoff or right in that 3 spot. They're probably in the 3 spot ahead of Gallo, but we'll see where things shake out. But, just in the end, I like he bats .280. He has consistent at-bats for the first time in his career, and I expect in a full season he'd be a 2020 guy again.
Yeah, we talked about Santana a lot. I just didn't have him ranked. I just think there's a lot of people at third base I'd rather have. It's not a knock on Danny Santana. He's great, but
yes,
third base, 30 there's just third base is just so deep. It's probably the deepest position except outfield and pitchers, I think, even deeper than shortstop, or at least close to it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I had a few guys that I left unranked that I really liked. They were my first 5 out. And I think they're all starting I had Yuli Gurriel, who had 34 home runs and over 100 RBIs last year, not ranked. Arias, who we both really like. So It's interesting how deep the position is. And, I could argue that even Sano, who I didn't have ranked, you had him just ranked. But, you could argue that you could throw any of those guys in your starting lineup and you would be okay. So it's definitely a deep position.
For sure.
Number 18 is Tommy Edman of the St. Louis Cardinals. Last season, he had 326 at-bats, 59 runs scored, 11 home runs, 36 RBIs, 15 steals. Currently going pick 142 overall. I like him. He's one of those guys that depends how the early part of your draft goes. But I think this is a guy that's probably going to be a consistent 30 stolen base guy. I'll be interested to see, and I mentioned this in our second base episode as well, but he really hasn't shown that much power in the minors. I mean, 11 home runs isn't a lot, but he was on a 20 to 25 home run pace. He never hit more than 11 home runs in a full season in the minors. So I don't know if he's growing into his power, if it was a little fluky. There's always the rumors of the wacky baseballs last year, but if he can ever become a guy that hits 20 home runs, there's another 2020 guy going in the mid rounds, so he could offer value at the top of the lineup there.
Yeah, that's another thing you mentioned with Daniel Santana, 2020 guys. This guy has very easy potential to become a 2020 guy. You mentioned last year he was on pace for 20 to 25 home runs, and he's going to get you stolen bases as well. He's got a very bright future, I think. I know the Cardinals' offense isn't the deepest in the world, but I think he could hold his own and becoming one of those 2020 premium guys.
Yeah, for sure. Number 17, and this is where the next few names here is where you start to realize this position is super deep. So number 17 is Wardell Escobar, who was much higher in our previous rankings last season. And when you hear his numbers, it's insane to think this guy's ranked 17th among third basemen. 269 last year, 94 runs scored, 35 home runs, 118 RBIs, currently going pick 115 overall. We've talked about him before. That's an up-and-coming lineup that should be really solid this season with the Diamondbacks. A lot of people have pointed to his metrics being a little lucky last season. When I look at it, his hard hit percentage and his exit velocity was a little low. So, I don't expect him to be I know you love him, and you think that he can do even more. I don't think – some people are saying he's like a 25 home run guy. I wouldn't go that far. I would say maybe lower 30s instead of 35. So, not a ton of regression, but he's going to drive in runs because that lineup is really nice.
Yeah, I think Wardell Escobar has finally grown into his power. I hated ranking him so damn low. This one hurt worse than Danny Santana, but I like him. I think, you get a guy like Starling Marte in this offense, and you got Christian Walker still producing, and you got Ketel Marte, and you got Danny Peralta coming back. So this offense is, I guess we're going to have a season 2021. Even then, he's still going to be all right. He could have, I think, probably late 30s. Maybe 40 home runs for him. I think like a 38 is a good number. With Marte coming in, he's definitely going to rack up a couple more RBIs. Mm-hmm. He's just an all-around great guy you want for your team. He also has second base eligibility as well, which is very key, and it just sucks to see him ranked so low.
Yeah, I agree. Number 16 is Max Muncy. Last season, he batted .251, 101 runs scored, 35 home runs, 98 RBIs, 4 stolen bases. I don't have much to say about him. He's in a great lineup. He is going to produce consistent power right around the mid-30s as he did last season. He's going to drive in runs. He has lots of opportunities depending where he hits in the lineup, maybe even more with Mookie there. Not going to get you a very high average, and that's kind of where you start to look at a lot of these guys above him. Either they have a higher average, or to me, they're younger and offer maybe a little more upside. And that's crazy to say because he had great numbers. But, I think that's how a lot of people view a guy like Vlad, who I had Vlad really low. I'm not a big Vlad Guerrero guy. I had him even lower. I just don't like. I think he's overrated, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. But Max Muncy, he's in a good lineup, good situation, good power. If that's something you need for your lineup, he's currently going pick 72, so not terrible value. I'd say it's fair for him. I won't call it value. I'll say it's fair.
Yeah, I don't think it's really good value at all. I'll go with I would say little unfair value.
Yeah, it's
I think the 255 is really horrible. I know Eduardo Escobar hit 269. I don't know. I like a guy in the 260s at least when he's crushing 30 home runs. That's just me though. But I'm not going to knock Max Muncy. He's in a great lineup. He's going to get his. He's going to rake. So he's going to do everything you need except getting batting average.
Number 15, Jeff McNeil, who we've talked about a few times now. Batted .318 last season, 83 runs scored, 23 home runs, 75 RBIs, and 5 stolen bases. currently going pick 105. Another guy with a good on-base percentage and great discipline at the plate, if that's something that counts in your leagues. I believe he's one of the top few guys in terms of average here. So, I mean, that's the biggest thing. I've mentioned it before. In today's game, really hard to find 290-plus hitters. And Jeff McNeil, ever since he's been in the majors, has just continued to hit for a high average. I think he's a consistent 300 hitter. Maybe in a bad season he'd bat the 290s, but even still, it's hard to find that position flexibility and eligibility as well. Not much else to say. He offers a little bit of power. He missed a few games last year and still hit 23 home runs. I think if he played a full 160, or we'll say 155 games, that he'd score close to 100 runs with a high average. So not a lot of power, but still, I love the average personally.
Yeah, and I like a guy that can hit 300 as well, since there's not as many guys that hit 300 as there are guys hitting 25, 30 home runs, in my opinion. So I think we'd have McNeil exactly where we should have him. He's a great hitter. I mean, the offense isn't the best. It's not the worst, though. I mean, but he definitely holds his own. He's definitely a guy that can hit 300, 20, and 20. He could potentially get 20 stolen bases as well. He's a great second, third baseman to have on your lineup.
Yeah, I would agree. Number 14 is Mike Moustakas, who is on the greatest team on paper. Last season, he batted .254, 80 runs scored, 35 home runs, 87 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, currently going pick 99. I'm going to let you start this one. You want to talk about your boy Moose a little bit?
Sure. I mean, Moustakas he's been consistent throughout his whole career. He reminds me of Jarvis Landry of baseball. I'm gonna say it. I will. I mean, this guy is consistent year in, year out, and he gets disrespected. But I mean, he's on a great team now. So I mean, I'm all on the Moose train. Okay. I don't know. I don't think the Reds ballpark's the greatest for sure. I mean, he could be playing at Camden Yards, but he's in a great situation with a pretty stacked lineup, and the Reds do have a decent hitting ballpark. So we'll see what happens. I definitely think he's going to hit 30 home runs. He's going to have 90 to 100 RBIs. He's going to be a guy that you can snag late that should have went a couple rounds earlier, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think, to me, he's pretty comparable to Max Muncy. They almost had the same average last year, same amount of home runs. They're both, the Dodgers have a better lineup, but both solid lineups, and you can grab them like 20 picks later, 25 picks later. So to me, I mean, that's a no-brainer, and that's where I start comparing ADPs. And I know a lot of people don't read too heavily into ADPs. I only do because I like to see, you can't really draft unless you know what your competition's doing because you're trying to beat them. So to me, the draft is a little bit of a game when it comes to that. So if I know people are valuing Max Muncy 20 picks higher, I mean, I'm going to just wait and take Moustakas 2 or 3 rounds later.
Yeah, they're definitely a similar player. I think Moustakas he has more potential to hit for a bit higher average, though.
Yeah.
But that's just my...
Yeah, because I think historically, I don't know what his career average is off the top of my head. I mean, to me, I think he was more of a 270 hitter, so 250
last year he definitely was having trouble hitting the ball. I wouldn't say hitting the ball. He had trouble getting on base because he usually hits for contact a lot as well. He usually hits the ball.
So next is what number are we on here? 13. Number 13, Vlad Guerrero Jr. So first I just want to say, to me, we both had him way lower than a lot of sites have him ranked, and his ADP on Yahoo is 50 right now, which is the 7th third baseman off the board. And when you look at how deep the position is, I mean, I personally don't get it. Last season, he batted .272, 52 runs scored, 15 home runs, 69 RBIs. He's currently going 50th overall. So in 12-team leagues, one of the first few picks in the 5th or towards the end of the 4th, right around that. And to me, that's insane. But I guess that's another whole conversation. I mean, my biggest concern with him, and I've mentioned before, a lot of players don't start to settle in until anywhere between 750 and 1,000 at-bats. So maybe we'll see Vlad. I think Vlad needs another full season until he grows into the player that he potentially could be. The biggest concern that I had is we've all seen his batting practice strength. And I mean, I don't get too googly-eyed over those guys. I mean, I don't care unless it translates to a game. And it was crazy when I was looking at his power metrics. I mean, his hard hit percentages and his exit velocity was all. I mean, they were like embarrassingly low. And for a guy who you expect to have a ton of power, that's a little concerning to me. Like I said, he had, I think, right around 400 at bats last year. So I think given a whole other season, you could see towards the end of the year him really start to catch on. But I just don't think he's at a point yet where he deserves to be a top 7 third baseman. I mean, you're paying for him at his top value rather than trying to catch a value third baseman.
Yeah, and where did we have him ranked? We have him consensus 13. Did we
13,
both have him?
You had him 12th. I have him 16th.
Oh, wow. Yeah, see, we both have him outside the top 10. You hate him more than I do. I thought I hated this guy.
I mean, when you look at it, though, I mean, like, guys like he's ranked ahead of Max Muncy, Wardell Escobar, Jeff McNeil, Mike Moustakas. Like, I don't know. I'd rather wait 50 picks, take those guys, and I think I'd just rather have him overall.
Yeah, it's the value for sure. Here's the thing with Vlad Guerrero Jr. He was the highest talked about prospect. Yeah. God, I'd say some Bryce Harper. I really would say Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was the most talked. Hey, God, did he ever fail miserably? I mean, he got called up in the early part of last year, too, so you can't say, oh, well, Rydawg, he didn't have the at-bats. No, bullshit. Yeah. He had the at-bats. The guy just couldn't live up to his dad's name so far. That's what the real issue is. And, I mean, God, I watched a couple of his games because I was at least, optimistic of, okay, what's this guy going to do? I mean, when he hit the ball, I mean, he hit it pretty good. I'll give him that. But, God, when he missed it, he looked silly. I mean, he was swinging at shit that was in the dirt. It was horrible to watch. I mean,
he's trying to be his dad, but his dad used to hit it.
I mean, and their base is just so deep. I mean, you said it. You're paying for his top value. I wouldn't say that. I mean, I think in a dynasty league, I think he was going. We've been in a couple of leagues ago where he was going the top 2 rounds.
Yep.
I would say. I think that one league we're in, but even then. 50th overall. I'm still passing. We're both in the same boat on that. He is just way too overhyped, and there's guys that are ranked way higher than him that are going to actually produce for you. So that's where the line's drawn.
Yeah, and in dynasty leagues, I get. I mean, I'm still not taking him in the second round, but the part that I'm interested to see long term is his career batting average in the minors was .331. And obviously, we didn't see that side of him in the majors. But even when I'm looking at his power numbers, I mean, he had 14 home runs, 20 home. I think the most he had in a full season was 20 home runs in the minors. So I mean, he might be a guy. It's got to translate to a game. And for me personally, I'm not paying top value or top dollar for him until I see that translate into a game. Because I mean, we saw the home run derby. I mean, that was fun to watch. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I mean that doesn't help your fantasy lineup.
Yeah, that doesn't help me win my championship if he's just hitting home runs only in the derby. So, yeah, he's out of the top 10 for us, and that definitely solidifies it for us, really. I mean, he's just a guy that's been overhyped.
Yep, I agree. Number 12 is Josh Donaldson. Last season, he batted .259, 96 runs scored, 37 home runs, 94 RBIs, and 4 stolen bases. He's in a very stacked lineup now. He's going 92 overall in drafts. I think I snagged him in almost every redraft league I was in just because, I mean, when you're in the 9th or 10th round, I mean, I would almost, I mean, in a lot of leagues, I wasn't taking a third baseman in the early parts of the draft intentionally just to take Josh Donaldson because he just kept falling and falling. And I kind of get it because it's such a deep position, but man, I mean, he just puts up numbers right around 100 runs scored, 40 home runs. I mean, with the lineup he's in now, he's going to have 100 RBIs. Once again,
easily.
I mean, more of a 250, low 260s guy, but he had the production that he's going to have in that lineup. I mean, I love him in that lineup.
Oh, yeah, the Twins lineup's a perfect fit for him. I think you could say the Twins and Braves lineup are very similar, or even you could make an argument that the Twins have a deeper lineup than the Braves. Yeah. But yeah, Donaldson is just so underrated. I was in a couple leagues redrafting as well, and gosh, he kept falling to me every time, and I kept taking it. It's such great value.
Yeah, and it's one of those things is usually the market will correct itself a little bit.
Yeah.
Right before the season got shut down, he was starting to go in the 6th round, which is probably a little more reasonable for him. Once he started slipping there, I think that's fair for him. Once again, it's not great value, it's not bad value. It's probably he's going to produce
Fair.
6th round value for you. So
for sure, definitely better value than Muncy's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, once again, that's another guy. When you look at Max Muncy, I guess is our marker today, 72 overall, and then Donaldson was 92 overall, so 20 picks later. I don't get that because he's on the Dodgers.
Hey, give me a break. I'm definitely taking Donaldson over Muncy.
Let's see. This is our last one then, number 11, Yoan Moncada. We have him 11th overall. Last season, very impressive numbers, 315 batting average, 83 runs scored, 25 home runs, 79 RBIs, 10 stolen bases. His hard hit metrics were really, really impressive. He was amongst the league leaders, I think top 25 in terms of hard hit percentage and exit velocity. So he absolutely rips the ball. And I still think that he's one of those guys, I mentioned that 750 to 1,000 at-bats, people start to settle in. And he started to cross that marker, and I think we're starting to see what he's going to be in the future. So I had him a few spots. I have him inside my top 10. I have him at number 9, and he's one. I don't know. He's going 65 overall. I think that's a pretty high price to pay for him right now, but I really think that given maybe a year or two, he's going to be a top 5 third baseman. And we kind of knew that when he was a prospect coming out. I mean, he was a very highly regarded international free agent, so he's finally living up to that potential. And I think he's going to be a very I like that. I was thinking about the White Sox lineup. I mean, I love Luis Robert, but even outside of him with Madrigal and Andrew Vaughn potentially coming up and making an impact, Jimenez there. I mean, they have a lot of intriguing young prospects coming up, so I'm kind of interested to see how their offensive pieces come together.
Yeah, and I like Moncada a lot. I mean, he just seems so quiet when you're drafting and then you see his name and he just falls through a little bit. Moncada also had second base eligibility last year, but I don't think he's not going to have that last year. I mean, this year, if he had eligibility this year, I think he would have been going a lot earlier, and we would have been hearing a lot more of him. But yeah, I like Moncada in that offense. It's a very stacked offense, in my opinion. It's one of the more underrated offenses because it's a young offense, but I think he'll do just fine there. I think he'll do just fine in Chicago.
Agree. So that's all that we have for today's episode. Those were our third basemen ranked 11th through 20th. So we thank you guys for watching another episode of Doc and Dog. Next episode, we are going to have our top 10 third basemen. If you don't already, make sure you subscribe to the Fantasy Mafia's YouTube channel. You can check out our new website at thefantasymafia.com, which has all our articles and content. And make sure you like us on Facebook. So thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time.
We'll see you later.